just like every season starts, it's hell. It's nonstop. It's almost like one season ends, the next season's the next day, and away we went. You know what? It's always fun because we have that party that says the launch party. We're going right into season 5. And then all hell breaks loose. I guess season 5 was the introduction to a new era of Holmes on Holmes. There was a lot of changes within the company.
It was a completely new beginning, with the intent to create some new milestones. Have the first woman on the show. We wanted to shoot HD for the first time. We made some changes in key sort of creative roles, like new editor.
For season 5, we decided that we wanted to shoot in HD, so we had a new format, and you know, it's a little more accepted now. But a couple years ago, even though you were shooting 16:9, they always wanted you to make it safe, and we refused.
When Pete asked me to come on board the show, we both felt it was very important to take it to a new level, and high definition was the way to go. And you know, the thing I really enjoy as a cinematographer is shooting in 16:9, and high definition is an amazing format. And it really works for construction because you really get to see the detail. If you watch, for example, on the Texas job, when all of a sudden we opened the wall and there was a nest of ants, and I am right, you know, I go right to the ants, I zoom right in, and just to see on high definition, I mean, you can basically see the legs on the ants. It's quite incredible.
That format is just suited to this show so well. Big arms with tools, and you know, those big shots.
I think as the show started to grow and become as popular as it did, surprisingly, it gave me the opportunity to bring in younger people. It gave me the opportunity to talk to the schools and say, hey, you got a co-op program? I like that. Can I bring them in? So right out of high school, I'm bringing young kids in, girls, guys. That helped me help them. I wanted to educate the young. I wanted to influence them and show them that there's opportunities in this world that are unbelievable. Not only can you make a great living, but you can be happy doing this. Just imagine designing and doing a bathroom or a kitchen or a deck or just painting and wallpapering, something so simple, but at the end of it, you get to stand back and look at it and say, wow, I did that.
Bringing on a woman was a big deal for us. It was very important, I think, for Mike to show people that, you know, not only was he committed to skilled trades coming in and sort of nurturing new talent and showing them the skills, but making it clear that it didn't matter what gender you were.
So when we put out the tender to say, okay, we're looking for a female at this point, hopefully young, doesn't matter, but you know what, honestly, we were looking for someone different, you know, tattoos, funky earrings, someone that had a character. And along came Pinky.
We discovered Corinne's, and she had just finished the Women in Skilled Trades course, and so we sort of grabbed her, and she's just a natural on TV as well.
I met Adam through, honestly, my daughter. He's also a character. He's quiet. He's the first one at the shop in the morning. I'm talking, man, the guy leaves his house at 5:30. He's one of the last guys to leave. It could be 12 o'clock at night. That is precisely what I'm looking for. Someone that cares to give, cares to learn. So he's got his mind open, he's got his eyes open, and he's focused on what he's doing. My son, I didn't think he'd get interested in this world. This year, I said to him, hey, you're out of school for the summer, you want to make some money? Come work with me. After the summer of working with all the guys and watching them sweat, and he started to like it. By the end of the summer, I think I had him hooked. And he said, Dad, I want to do this. That made me a happy dad. We hired Damon, another guy that had the eyes, the ears, the attention. Damon had a lot of talents, and he paid attention very much so. By the end of the season, man, that guy's a rock star.
When I first met Mike, yes, everyone has this idea that you know a lot until you meet a guy that knows a lot. And when I first met Mike, just listening to him talk, he blew me out of the water because I didn't know who he was. I saw him on TV. You know, that was impressive enough. But then he starts telling you a bit about his knowledge and starts teaching you. He relays the message very well, and he instills in you that you want to learn more. You know, instills a pride in your work, an ethic that I really enjoyed from day one. And that takes a very good teacher in order to get that message across.
None of us had any idea what the show was going to do, but we all thought it was a great idea and it would be a great show. And his natural role of just making everything easy to understand, everything's in layman's terms. There's no engineering talk or anything. In fact, he sort of has his own language, might speak. So, but he naturally was always teaching everybody. His whole idea was to teach the public what to be aware of when you're hiring a contractor. So it's not so much he's trying to teach a contractor how to be a contractor. He's trying to teach us and, you know, the whole public how to hire a contractor. So he always was kind of teaching, and it was just a natural progression for him to teach his son, to teach some of the other young people on the show, and just kind of mentor the whole gang so that after the show they could just carry on whatever they want to do. It's an excellent experience for all of them.
To learn from Mike Holmes is the best. He's a great guy to work with. He's very understanding, and what he knows, he's probably forgotten more than many people have ever learned. when it comes to this trade, this business. It's incredible what I'm coming out of season 5 with, to be able to take into season 6 and make it that much better.
He's awesome for that, just always teaching me, and he's always there. Like, whenever I have a question, the dumbest question ever, like, he'll always stay there with me and, like, explain it to me. Same with Damon. Damon's amazing for that. It's good to know that the people around you are willing to teach you.
Mike's a great guy to deal with. He's very honest and direct. He's just like he is on the show. He'll just tell you what he needs, and it's always last minute, pretty much. So he'll call me and say, well, we need this for tomorrow, or we need these materials, or we got this coming up. And then he'll give me as much lead time as possible, but it's usually very last minute, and I do what I can to get things done.
When I first started working on the show, somebody described Mike to me as being optimistic almost to a fault. And I've discovered that that is somewhat true. In the early days, I would find stories that I thought were appropriate for the show, and I just give him a stack of paper and say, Mike, just put a comment or two at the top of the page and let me know how you feel about these particular stories. And every single page had, great, I love it, let's do it. So there were never any negative comments. So I was faced with this stack of, okay, he wants to do all 50 of these stories. Oh, great. So there's no way to pare it down. So luckily with Mike, there is the opposite of Mike, which is Pete Kettlewell, who is pessimistic, but in a good way. And so he's able to sort of balance the two things and help me find the appropriate story for the show.
In my professional career, Pete is the person I've worked with the most. I trust him with my life. We've worked around the world together, and he was the one that brought me onto the show. And it is an amazing synergy we have, and it is not hard to get up and go to work every day when I'm working with Pete.
When you're doing the show, as executive producer of the show, your responsibility is to deliver a show on time and on budget. And, I got 20 years of being able to do that, very proud of that. I feel like I'm in a plane and it's on fire sometimes with Holmes on Holmes, because it's no matter how hard you try, and sometimes the harder you try, the worse it gets, but no matter how hard you try, it's difficult. Putting those two worlds of television and construction together is a challenge.
It's not easy. I mean, we're actually mixing production and construction, two worlds that are colliding all the time. All of a sudden, Mother Nature steps in when we're working outside. Thunderstorms break open. What do? It's going to rain the next day. It's going to be super cold. It's going to be super hot. We had to learn to be able to change quickly.
The reality is, shooting television is very difficult. People, they see the final product. It lasts an hour on television, and they think, well, that was great. That was easy. The truth is, it takes an unbelievable amount of talented, skilled people working very long, hard days over 6-7 months sometimes to produce 1 hour of television. And that's often the way it is just in television. But when you mix in the construction thing, it's like those two worlds don't want to be together. And you're reminded about that every single day.
I thought a little bit about construction. I'd done some things in my own house. But coming into this show and learning so much about construction, and basically we have to know about construction, and that goes for me, so I know what we need to shoot. It goes for the director of photography, so he knows what to shoot. My learning curve was very steep. I need to understand and anticipate what is going to happen before it does, because if I don't know construction, I'm not going to know what to shoot. These contractors have to understand television as much as we have to understand construction. And it's a big curve. When construction is noisy and messy and all those things that go with it, and somehow they have to understand when to be quiet, when they can make noise, how to just keep on building or doing what they're doing, even though we are crowding them in sometimes into tight spaces and bathrooms and little areas.
Just maneuvering around people, knowing when you have to stop, when you have to start. When someone's doing an interview, everything has to be quiet, but you have to be able to just jump right back into that same mood, get focused back on the job, and start again. And that is really hard to do. It's something that was probably the biggest hurdle for me to get over.
The camera equipment is very sensitive, and it's not used to being in that type of environment. So we have to be very protective of it. We spend a lot of time covering the camera for really dusty situations. When we're into pulling down ceilings and there's a lot of drywall dust, I will say to my very able assistant, Steve Tashima, let's go to demo mode. We change the filter. We put a cover on the camera, and because the philosophy I like to keep is I want to be right in there. I don't want to be standing back 20 feet. I want to be right in there, wearing my hard hat. 2 to 3 feet away from everybody at all times.
So being the director of Holmes on Holmes, you never know what's going to happen every day. And it's one thing to come out of television for 20-something years and then go into construction. It's the craziest thing you could ever want to do is make a television show about construction. Because everything we know in television is all about, it's our budget, it's our schedule, and, everything is tight, And this show is loose because it has to be loose, because every time he opens up a wall, we don't know what's going to be in the wall. That's the beauty of the show. That is what determines our schedule, is what has to happen in construction. And that is just a crazy way to do television. It's insane.
A fence job came up. All of a sudden we get this email that says, the whole street's in trouble because this contractor ripped them off. We're talking, at the beginning, 40 families. Well, all of a sudden it turns into 52 families, 50-something families, over a mile of fencing. I said, yes, I want to show the proper way of doing a fence, because so many fences I've seen, much like the rest of my business and the rest of my world, being done incorrectly.
There it was, day one. I have my suit pressed very nicely, and I'm out there on Holmes, which was, was a great opportunity for me. And it was also a very different type of show. Traditionally they'd done more interior type of shows, and the idea for this came up, and it was basically an exterior show. And there was a lot of concern about how that show would look, and the network was concerned, will that show fit the style? They were also very concerned about even shooting on high definition. The show had never been done on high definition, never outdoors, so there was a lot at stake.
I didn't want to do the fence job. The thought of doing 50 fences, it was an awesome task, and we knew it would be a great show and everything. All I wanted was for it to not be the first show that we did of the season. So it was like the second show, which meant I had to start it 3 days after starting the first show. It was brutal. It was hot. It was wide open. And just all the logistics of dealing with 50 different households. It was a massive job. It took months to wrap that job up.
One of the biggest issues was property lines with that job. We had to contact a surveyor, and then we actually got a hold of the original surveyors who did the original layout for the subdivision. And they came back and reestablished all their lot lines and determined exactly where all the property lines were. And it turned out the original contractor was building, he wasn't on those lines at all. He was in and out a foot here and there, and people were getting ripped off of their real estate.
I don't really like hearing about the jobs until we're actually focused on them and I'm there. So, they show us the yards and tell me it's 52 homes we have to build for. And I'm like, oh my God, that was probably the biggest project in terms of fencing or outdoor landscaping work that I had ever done before.
It seemed like a really good idea, and we were helping a lot of people, but it turned out to be quite a beast. It was huge. It took a lot of time. We got a lot of rain, post holes caving in, and just the labor that it takes to build 52 backyard fences is quite a lot. And it took a lot longer than we anticipated, but we got it done.
Yeah, we had a really hard time. We actually made a little fun out of it. We did man versus machine, pulling out the post. We did a little race. I was on the man team, but we ended up losing by just a little bit. So it was still fun, but we had a heck of a time pulling out those posts. Adam was on the Bobcat trying to rip them out, and it was just, sometimes they'd break in half, sometimes he'd be lucky enough to pull them out. If not, we had to dig them out. And that concrete's not light.
Pulling the post out was pretty easy for me. I sat on a machine for 3 weeks. I didn't mind it at all. In fact, I definitely enjoyed it. Putting them back in was a little more labor intensive, but it was a good experience. There was a lot of fences. They got very repetitious.
It was interesting. I definitely know how to do a fence through and through now.
It was also on that show where I really had to very quickly learn, one, about construction, and two, about adjusting to the style of the show. The shake and bake, the move and groove, keep it going. And it was quite amazing. There was one sequence where there is a lightning storm coming in. And it was very exciting because Mike's there saying, he was very concerned about the water coming into the holes that they dug. And there was a real sense of urgency. And that's when I have to be able to keep up with what's going on. I can't say, wait, do it again, come back, one more time. You have to go with it. It's very real. That storm was real. It was coming. And it also gave us some very exciting footage.
House Arrest was the first show that we shot for season 5, and it was almost as if we had to relearn, or at least remember, how to make Holmes on Holmes. We'd been so involved in the business of getting the season going that all of a sudden we're all standing there, and I and this show is, there's a formula to the show, that we try to follow, and you stay within these guidelines, and all of a sudden we were sort of standing there going, people were suggesting, well, don't you need to do this, don't you need that? It was amazing all of a sudden to get back into it so hard and so fast, and other shows were starting immediately, etc., because we're doing 2 and 3 at a time. It took us about 3 or 4 days to get used to doing it again. We had new crew members, we had new television crew, and all of a sudden, we're all standing there ready to make Holmes on Holmes again. Oh yeah, how do we make Holmes on Holmes?
This specific family was out a lot of money, and they've been living in hell for how long? Just way too long. It doesn't matter how long, it was way too long. That, to me, was a good enough reason to go in and help them. Go in and make it right and see what we could do to make their lives easier.
We were all over that house. And it's always a challenge photographically to try and tie everything together because we never show schematics of the house and where everything is. So one of the philosophies we have is we like to follow the contractors, particularly Mike, from room to room to room, or backyard to front yard, up the stairs, down the stairs, because it does become a little bit disorienting sometimes that you don't exactly know where you are. And you forget that as an individual. When I'm there, I know where the bathroom is at the top of the stairs. I know that the basement's at the bottom of the stairs. But the viewer doesn't know that, and that is one of the biggest challenges we have.
That was really our first job where I was getting to know, Adam and Corinne in a renovation setting. I mean, we were doing offensive before, but that's sort of outdoor. You can, it's a fence, it's basic, you teach them and move on. In a reno, you're dealing with all kinds of different stuff. So I just remember dealing with some of the issues of having new people on, deadlines, trying to meet deadlines, and that was a tough one because, you're not having skilled contractors with you at that point. You're actually teaching. At the same time, they're learning, and at the same time, you have a deadline to meet. That was really tough on us.
That job, I think what I remember most was the basement, was chipping all the concrete out and finding the sewage pipes. And it was Corinne's first day that day, so she had to carry out the sewage pipes. And it wasn't pretty, but I was really impressed, thinking, wow, like your first day and you're carrying out sewage pipes.
House arrest was my first job. I remember it was an hour late on my first day for that job. I completely got lost, and I don't even think I was standing there for 5 minutes, and they're like, all right, we're gonna get you on camera.
There was a mason that had worked with us a few jobs, and he was just a class act. This guy was so skilled. His name was Joe Umbrello.
The old Italian guy that can barely speak English, that is a perfectionist. He uses a level every which way and goes, but he knows what he's doing. That guy rocks.
He never got to finish that job. He passed away on the weekend.
We were hurting because we lost someone. We lost a soldier. In my world, that's what we do. And we lost a damn good contractor. It's too bad we can't replace those guys as they go down or as they leave this world or as they retire. We're not, unfortunately.
So that show was dedicated to him, and it was just on top of trying to get that first show in the can. It just leveled everything out. Okay, this is just television. There's people's lives that are at stake here all the time, especially on this show. You're trying to save someone all the time, and here's one of your own guys that works for you that just passes on, and it's an excellent wake up, I guess. It puts everything in perspective.
I found that story about a year and a half before we actually did it. And it was one of those stories where I really wanted to do that story, but it just wasn't fitting into what we were doing at the time. And so about a year and a half later, I was going through my files and went, oh yeah, that's right, Dave Starrett. We've got to phone this guy up and see what he's up to. And sure enough, he was still in the same predicament he was in.
This guy pursued us in a very creative way. He is a photographer. He's a very creative guy. And he would send down things to our story producer on a board, and he'd write a postcard on a board. So, he always had a creative way of trying to get our attention.
Man, that guy had balls. He really did. He took on the government. He called the mayor. Here's someone that does something right. He talks to all his neighbors. He gets his permits. He checks out his contractor. And he gets screwed. And man, did he get screwed. Holy cow. I keep looking at this system going, what the hell's going on here? I had to help the guy.
I remember being there really late. We're trying to get the slope on the roof. We finally got it, but I just remember him coming home shortly after 11 that night, coming up on the roof, looking at us, and he said something that actually is just still stuck with me today, and that's, he goes, I'm never quite sure. I've been burned a couple of times by contractors, so even having Mike here, you're never quite sure. I mean, I trust him, but there's always that thing in the back of my mind. He goes, when I saw you guys still working at 11 o'clock, trying to get this perfect for me, he goes, I knew I had the right guys right away, and that stuck with me.
It's very important for me to give the viewer a perspective on the entire project that we're doing. So in the flat roof job, we had, once again, a scissor lift. We parked it in the backyard, and we were able to go up quite high in that and give the viewer the overall sense of where the job was at.
Sealing the deal. Another good family writing in a story to me, and it's what I'm reading when I read those emails that help me see who the family is without even meeting them. I read the story. Dangerous for the kids. The contractor didn't finish. They were willing to pay the right amount for the contractor. I went to see the story. Two very good people, and I loved their kids. I just looked at the bulkhead. I didn't have to see too many things there, and I knew it was going to fall down. There's another family I had to help and show, don't mess with structure. This guy moves the pole with no engineer drawings, no nothing, no permit.
The Milton basement job was about one of 3 or 4 basements that we did that season. So by the time we got, I think that was the second one. And by the time we got to that, we were pretty quick at them. So we were flying along. Unfortunately, it fell around Christmas time, and so we ended up working there almost straight through Christmas.
On sealing the deal, we used a lot of blue spray foam, just for a change, Mike's favorite product. And there was a nice glob of blue spray foam left over, and Pinky grabbed it and thought it looked like a helmet. So she carved it out to the shape of my head. She used some tuck tape as a tie strap, and she presented it to me. And I still have that to today, and it is one of my most favorite pieces of memorabilia from the show.
The most fun that we had in there was Mike deciding to build this little kid's hidden area under the stairs. There was like a cold room under there, a big space under the stairs.
Wouldn't it be perfect to have, this is what I wanted my whole life, was a little secluded room to myself as a child. And having a secret door. So I was, thinking what a great idea to have a bookshelf that would revolve and, the kids could crawl through and have their own little world. So that was my idea. And then Mike comes in and he has the exact same idea.
We built a kids' room out of a crawl space area in the basement, and we decided to put in a chalkboard. And rather than actually buy a chalkboard, I sourced out some magnetic paint, which you can paint on pretty much anything. The paint has particles of iron in it, which makes it magnetic. You put 3 or 4 coats on, and it was a great kids' room. It was a great sort of bonus to the job for the kids.
I was the only one that could actually stand in the 5-foot room, disgustingly enough. Mike was on his knees and I was fully standing. And I remember he looked over, he's like, freak.
This is cute. She fits perfectly.
That was the greatest. Seeing Mike Holmes sitting down in that little room at the end of the show with these kids, getting a high five on this miniature chair in this little room.
Bargain basement, my God, bargain basement. I mean, that says everything, bargain basement. Here's a family that hired contractors to come in that are kids, for almost nothing, thinking they can get the basement done cheap. I think by the end of their job with this contractor, they realized that going the cheap route was not the smart route. They practically destroyed their house. They didn't do it right. And once again, no permits. Why is it all these jobs have no permits? Doesn't that tell you something? Are we learning something here? No permits? Big problems.
So bargain basement would have been the first time Mike had left me alone with Adam and Corinne. And, he never really said it, but I felt a little bit of pressure. I was left alone on a job. There's supervisors and, there's Mike and down the line, and I wasn't really in that category. So I felt a lot of pressure to make sure that I did a very good job for him. And I was left with the only 2 trainees in the crew. So, I was very nervous with the crew I had. And, just tackling a job for Holmes on Holmes by myself. I mean, I was still fairly new to the show, so it turned out great, and I couldn't have asked for a better crew. But just the nerves on coming into that first one was pretty interesting.
If somebody did that to my house, I don't know what I would do to them. I could have hired a 10-year-old to do a better job than that. The gaps under the doors, the trim that was clearly not done right. You could tell there was just no planning to it whatsoever. They were just totally winging it as they went.
It was kind of an awkward space to work with, just as a funny L shape, but worked out nice in the end. Again, another beautiful job. Can't say enough about it.
For Annie, wow, every once in a while I step into a job that is, I don't want to say so much that it was a tearjerker or anything like that, but that was hard, on my heart. I felt how hard it was for them.
It's a great honor to be allowed into people's homes. We're allowed in at a very emotional, tough time for a lot of the homeowners. In that case, they'd lost their daughter, and we have to be very respectful of their time and their space.
And all they want is the job to be finished the way it was supposed to be done and no longer have that hanging over them. You're damn right I'm going to step up to that and make sure that I do everything I can for those 2 beautiful, beautiful people.
That renovation is not the story. The story is, and they could have now had any kind of renovation they wanted in that house, and we offered it to them. Do you want to do something differently now? You don't need this ensuite bathroom and bedroom to be accessible anymore. You don't need the house to be accessible anymore. Is there something else that you would do instead? Absolutely not. That job needed to be finished the way that they initially wanted it for Annie, which was way more important than any contractors, any renovation, or any of the work that we could have done in that house. It was just, they had to get on the other side of that. I hope somehow that it gave them some closure on their daughter. The thing was over, right? That job was done.
I don't usually go out to set that much. I usually go out, when I'm doing the scouting, and then on the last day, I like to go out and see the reveal because then I start to feel like I'm still a part of the process. It's the whole thing comes full circle, and I feel like there's closure to the particular job that we're doing, and that one was worth $1 million to me because seeing what they were like in their emotional state when I first met them, and then seeing them at the end of all that, and it was like night and day, and I really felt like we were doing something really positive.
To be involved in that type of situation is very unusual for a TV show. A lot of times as a technician, you're walking in the door, you're doing your job and you're leaving. There is absolutely no emotional attachment to anything. For Annie was one of the greatest examples of how great this show can be.
That job was just low. I just went in there and I was like, how can somebody rip off, you're ripping off a little girl? It was just, I don't know, to me it was just horrible. That was probably one of the worst ones, the emotional ones for me. And all the guys don't get emotional, but I do. And it's like, I gotta keep myself together because I'm working with all men. But it's sad to see that people would do that, and especially in the end of a little girl's life.
It's probably, I hate to say my favorite episode because it's, it wrenches at my heart you wouldn't believe. It was one that touched me the most. Just walking in there and being able to do a part of that for them, being able to do her washroom for her. That was Annie's, that was going to be Annie's room, and for me to, be a part of that, it was very emotional for me.
At the end of it, I got what I wanted, and what I needed more than anything was the emails that they sent me afterward to say how their world has gotten better, how bit by bit the pain is going away, and how thankful they were to everyone in my company. Man, that's something.
There's one shot that I was very proud of. There's a shot when we go to commercial of a swing, just swinging on its own. The sun is coming through behind the swing, and you know for sure that is where Annie probably used to swing. And it just said a lot to me when I saw that, and I saw this swing just gently blowing backwards and forwards in the breeze. A picture said 1,000 words.
I got a call from Pete at about 5 o'clock in the morning on the For Annie job, which was really surprising to stop everybody from going into the site so they could film Mike plowing through the snow in his truck. We got up there, and sure enough, we waited and waited and waited. Mike came plowing down the snow, got it on camera, and that shot made it.
This guy comes in, and we can't find the water pipes in the ground. We don't know where the hell it is, all the weeping tiles. And he says, oh, no problem. You know, he goes to his truck, he comes back out, and he's got these 2 rods. And I go, oh, no, I'm dealing with a nut. You know, right away, I'm dealing with a nut. Well, sure enough, I'm standing in one spot, and I'm watching the guy, and I didn't move. And as he walked across the property, and he kept walking in 5 to 10 foot increments, and he's using these 2 rods, and every time he crossed this one spot that I'm watching, the 2 rods came in. And I said, no way. This can't be real. You got to be kidding me. Every single time he crossed it, I watched him cross it 6 times. In the same spot, those rods came over. I said, you know what? Give me those rods. Let me try this. How do you hold them? What do you do? And sure enough, it's to do something with gravity and moisture, and who the hell knows? But I'll tell you one thing, they crossed over. Hey, opens up my mind to different ways.
The divining rod issue in the For Any episode, we used it. The septic installer had it, and we used it based purely just to get an initial locate of where the existing septic bed was. And we found it, and it worked. It was great. Mike used it, and he thought it was great. And then, eventually we did the excavation, so we could find out where the actual lines were. It wasn't using the divining rods, this is where it is, this is where we're going to dig around. We dug around, we used call before you dig, we did underground locates, but we got so much flack from emails from people saying divining rods are a crock, they're a sham, they don't work, it's all, hocus pocus magic. But we just did it, and it worked for our job. It may not work on others, I don't know. But it was just an initial, to get the initial layout of where things were.
Mike doesn't get shown up a lot. It's it's pretty humorous to see it. And who ended up showing up was the Black Lab, stealing his mittens and his earmuffs, any chance he could get. I think he really had it out for Mike. He was really giving him the tease. It was fun watching Mike chase around the lab all over the yard.
We're going to have to get him something to play with.
Out of the Ashes, it's one of those shows that just had a complete life of its own. It just grew and grew and grew, right? That the house we thought was interesting, the job, because there had been a fire in that house, and we'd never tackled a fire damage job before. So there's certain issues that you have to contend with, which we thought would be interesting and informative. So we took on that job, and there was some real big emotional things that happened to this family. And it was as if the construction was the least of their trouble.
One of those jobs that ends up taking 4 months, 5 months, I can't even tell you how long it was. And we do have a period of time that we're supposed to finish a job based on a budget of the television show. Well, this is another one of those that goes way over. Way over budget, way over time, way over shooting.
The job got so big that we're all thinking, not only can we not afford it anymore, but we can't contain this story into an hour. I mean, it's going to be the fastest hour on television. How do we get all this stuff into the hour? And yet Mike wants to accommodate this family and decides he's just going to gut the whole house. We gutted this house right to the bricks, rebuilt the whole thing from the basement up, and start discovering like an oil tank in the backyard. I mean, it just went on and on. So we go back to the network and ask them, can we make this a 2-hour show? Which we have had to do on occasion. If there's a 2-hour show, it's because the show had to be 2 hours. And that's sort of that's one of the calls that we have to make on the spot. That's what makes this show interesting and sometimes challenging, because you can't know what's going to happen in that house. Are we just going to repair the upstairs in that house and finish the bathroom? And in the end, we rebuilt that house. That house is like a brand new house.
We always try to get to scale down, because we end up, it goes way over budget, way over schedule. So the goal is to make them smaller, but, sometimes the bigger jobs make better episodes.
That show showed me a different side of Mike, because I think we had blocked off the show and decided that the scope of the job would be so big, and Mike's big old heart just kind of opened up, and he just kept going and going and going.
Jobs like that I really don't want to step too deep into, because that one is like quicksand. Once you're in, you're in. I'm never going to walk away from anything in my life. And I didn't walk away from them. I made it right. And at the end of it, I got to be honest, that house was gorgeous. I don't have a kitchen like that.
The best part about that job for me was just after all they had been through, the deaths in their family, everything that family had to deal with, seeing the look on their faces when they got that house back was priceless, and that's for me what it's all about.
For the reveal shots, we're really highlighting all the hard work and dedication that has gone into the show, and all the amazing work all the contractors have done. So I like to give those shots as much beauty as I can, and we have used Steadicam, for example, in Out of the Ashes, because we rebuilt an entire house, and the end result is gorgeous. The finishes in the house are fabulous. So the thing that was terrific there is that we could actually let the camera float through the house, and we came in through the front door, past the stairs, into the kitchen, and around the island, and that really did show off the beauty of that project. The other thing that I remember about that show is the beam, I think, weighed something like 2,000 pounds, and I'm thinking, well, they're going to bring in a crane or they're going to have some sort of fancy apparatus. And Mike's saying, no problem, we'll just lift it into place. I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't believe him, and sure enough, the moment comes, and I put the camera on my shoulder, he puts the beam on his shoulder, and into place it goes.
Taking a bath. Most people choose to buy a new home because they truly believe if they buy a new home, they're not going to buy any problems. Boy, let me tell you, I've inspected a lot of new homes, a lot of old homes, and there's a lot of problems with the new home industry. The reason I did this job was simple. The homeowners are good people. I only work with good people. All of them are good people. I trust my instincts when I get to meet them and get to know who they are and what their problems are. But the reason is because I wanted to show that minimum code doesn't work.
They called me in for the tiling on that job. Again, we were bouncing back and forth, so I came in to do some tiles and help the crew out a little bit. And, Mike decides to help me out. Have you ever seen the size of a bathtub? I mean, it's 5 feet wide. You get two 200-pound guys in a bathtub. It's a little strange, especially when one's your boss. You're touching knees and everything. So that's that job was a little bit funny, but we got it done.
I tell you how much I love you.
Rub-a-dub-dub, 2 men in a tub.
The only damage that ever happened was interesting. All of season 5, we basically lost one filter, and I was filming Sean. He was up on the ceiling doing some drywalling. He didn't see me. I was underneath him, and basically he brought his elbow down, and it actually smashed the filter.
Oh, I just broke the lens. Sorry, buddy.
Every season it's the same. We try and stay on budget, we try and stay on time, and as you do so many shows and all of a sudden you're getting out of whack because the shows are becoming big. Remember, Out of the Ashes, for Annie, all these jobs that were big took more time. So we try and take on a couple of smaller jobs to make up that time, which never seems to work, but we chose to do this kitchen for this lady and her mom.
There wasn't anything really special about the job itself, except for that, because I get a sort of a pretty good perspective of what's happening across North America from all the emails that come in. This is a situation that comes up time and time again. So I thought, this is a microcosm for what a lot of homeowners are going through, and I thought it was worthwhile to show this particular kind of situation.
Audrey, mega babe. I mean, just I think one of the greatest personalities out of season 5. I don't care what age you are. If you're spunky, you're spunky. And Audrey was fantastic. She was exactly the type of person we love to deal with. From a TV point of view, she's fantastic, but on an individual level, she had so much energy.
One of the greatest things was in the first initial tour with her and Mike, she told Mike, you better do this right, or you're going to be accountable to me, which was an awesome thing for a little old lady to say to Mike Holmes. So he agreed he would be. We gave her a whole new kitchen, probably because Mike was scared.
She was the nicest lady I've ever met in my life. It was a great job. It's too bad I feel bad what happened to him, but this lady just nothing could beat her spirit down. She was so happy to have us there. She was a joy to be around. She really was. She made that job worthwhile. It was just a small job, but you enjoyed coming to it every day. Every morning you knew as soon as you got there, you're going to be smiling.
We're working till 10 o'clock at night, and here's this spunky little woman coming up and asking if she can be involved somehow, and I'm thinking, wow, to hire her would be fantastic. I mean, that means I'd have to get rid of Adam or something, but...
The reveal doesn't always go exactly to schedule. On paper it says 6 p.m. Sometimes it'll end up being 11 p.m., and there is Audrey. I think she was over 70 years old. And she was in her pajamas almost when we were doing the reveal.
The reveal on that show is just unreal. I mean, she was so thrilled, and she really had no idea. What we did, rather than just replace the tile, we gave them a completely brand new kitchen. New everything, new cupboards, new floor, of course, new appliances. I mean, I think Janet kind of knew what we were doing, but Audrey had no idea, and with the patience of an 89-year-old, never looked to see what we were doing. So when she walks into that kitchen, she just freaked out. I mean, she was she was one of the greatest reveals of all time. I mean, as opposed to us all crying at the end, I think everybody was trying not to laugh at the end because she was so excited. It was wonderful.
Jeez, love that woman. She is, I'll never forget her because she smucked me right on the lips.
She was not missing out on a chance to kiss Mike.
To her, it was the little things. It's not like so many people I meet out there, but to her, she got a dream kitchen. She didn't even expect a dream kitchen. She just wanted the tile floor. Those are the reasons really that keep me going. They're all about why should I keep doing this? Why should I work 7 days a week and with nonstop and keep doing this crazy world of fixing crap after crap? It's because of people like her.
Oh, I just can't tell you how pleased I am.
Well, I think you just did. You know what? I feel really good and I got goosebumps.
This was the episode where somebody that has the same pride and values as Mike stepped up to the plate without anybody else and without any other motivation other than to do the right thing. And when I found out about the story, I really wanted to show that there are other people out there who are good and decent, and this was, I guess, the tribute to all those people out there that are doing the right thing.
Once again, I get to meet someone new. Another contractor steps right up to the plate. He's the tile master guy. It's where the tiles came from. He's the guy that came in and said, hey, I think you should call Holmes on Holmes. And it's because of him I did that job. But he stepped up and supplied all the products that we needed, even some help to install. And that I really like, because that really shows there are people out there who care. And I want to show those people.
What a Mesh was an interesting job. I was only there for the demo of it, but that just how easy that came up was incredible. I've never seen in my life anything like that. It was incredible.
I quite often have the luxury of being able to move around and get into different positions, and that's very important to me, that I can't just stand in one position. I need to be able to, show from behind, from in front, from on top, underneath. That's a very important philosophy that I have with the show, to show the project from many different angles, a lot of different perspectives. All of a sudden, when the tiles are up in 45 minutes, it's over. So that's where I really have to be on my toes.
We did something quite unique in that we had the tile inlay within the hardwood in the front hallway, something I'd never seen before. So one of the challenges was to figure out the best material to go between the tile and the hardwood, which turned out to be a sanded silicone, which is a silicone with sand in it to give it that grainy texture to make it look like grout. So we used that and it looked great when we were done.
The major construction that's happening out there in the world right now usually involves people living in close proximity to each other. And that's one of the, I would say maybe about 20% of the emails we get involve proximity issues. People are living in condos or townhouses, and they're complaining about their neighbors, the noise and cooking smells and cigarette smoke that is transmitting from one unit to the next. And it really affects people's quality of life. I mean, when you can't sleep at night because your neighbor, you can hear their television or their stereo, that's a really big issue.
In my world, I'm the guy that creates. I'm the guy that builds, I make your dreams come true. That's my job. And then I go and I wreck a place, and I put it all back together again. It doesn't look any different other than a little bit of red paint upstairs. The homeowners liked it. I really didn't, because there was nothing really different. All I was really doing was fixing something that should have been done right in the first place. That's what I was doing. And unfortunately, it was things you can't see. And did they actually have any idea of how much work we did? No way. Not until they watched the show.
Wall of sound was a unique job. First time I had to deal with sound transmission ratings and how much sound is allowed to go through a wall in between two townhomes. So I had to do a lot of research, talk to building code officials, and determine the sound transmission class rating, or STC rating, for the wall and what was allowed. So through more research, I found a manufacturer, Sound Divide, that makes Quiet Rock, a sound-resistant drywall. And they have all kinds of accessories to go behind electrical outlets and phone jacks, and they make putties and caulkings, all kinds of stuff to reduce the sound transmissions throughout the whole assembly.
Well, I remember when Pete talked to me about the episode, and that was one of my first concerns. It's like, how do I show noise? So we have to make sure that I see the specialist that came in had an audio meter, and I had to really show the decibels on that meter. We had to show how it was before the soundproofing product went up versus afterwards. It was a challenge.
Just judging from the feedback we got on that episode, I think there's a lot of people out there that now have at least an understanding about what their own situation is and how to remedy it. So that was a good episode.
There's one of those jobs that isn't supposed to be that big. Worst case scenario in my mind, we're going to gut the basement and do it again. Not rip apart the whole house and run all new electrical and gas lines and furnaces and ants, carpenter ants, raw sewage. That's right. Yes, I remember. Oh, roots galore. Wow.
Season 5 is going way too long, and we're hoping to have wrapped it like 3 months earlier. We're into spring, and we've decided that we need to find a very small job as the last story of the season. And Brian, our story producer, finds this very small job, plumbing job, in a small basement, in a small house. And so it's all small, and we're very happy. And Pete, meanwhile, is feeling very tired in a big way, and so he needs to go away on a March break with his family. And I say, Pete, it's been a long time since I've been in the field, and I'd really enjoy doing that. I can't see the project through. You'll only be gone for a week, but I'd love to hang out there for a week. It'd be thrilling. So let's do that, and we don't have to bring in anyone else to direct.
I went to Mexico in the middle of that show, and Michael Quash had to go do 4 days there, and I think these guys were shooting like 9 tapes a day. They all, at the end of the week, were so exhausted. I think they couldn't recover for 2 weeks after having Michael. Neither could he.
So we walk into this house. We're in the basement. Mike's looking around going, okay, we're going to fix the plumbing. And you can see it. It's all there. It's not behind walls or anything. So there's nothing to rip down and take away. So, we're going to fix the plumbing and straighten it out. And of course, Mike is Mike, and he has to call other people. And he starts thinking, he wonders, are there roots in the drains? Let's just call and get a camera in there. And sure enough, we call, and there's roots. There's like trees growing in these people's drains. It's like roots this big. So we have to get that fixed. And then we take up the linoleum, and the floor is black with mold, like black. So, we've got guys running off to the store to get, materials and decontaminants to deal with the mold now. We find exposed electrical behind the shower. And Mike's going, okay, well, that's got to be fixed. And understand, this is all like within a couple of hours, we're shooting this, running around, it's just sort of like boom, boom. And then, of course, the ants. So that was like, honest to God, I thought, I can't believe this is happening to me. Pete's sitting on a beach in the sun thinking we've started the smallest job of the season, and I'm sitting in a job that's turned into the size of Texas within 4 hours, and I haven't been in the field in years, and I'm thinking, oh my God, and now I'm stopping to be the director, and now I'm just thinking I'm as an executive producer, and all I can see are dollar signs, and and they're taking the ants away, and they're peeling it back, and I swear, the thing I thought, oh my God, this whole house is coming down. I thought, this job is going to take us as long as the entire season has already taken us. We're never going to get out of this house. And then we had lunch.
In one room, we had plumbing problems, which led to electrical problems, which led to massive mold, a few thousand ants, and we just started.
And I haven't done that again. Although Pete has had, March breaks since, but I haven't done that again. And I think it's wise that I don't do that because we just simply can't afford it.
It becomes too big again. Again, we're out of money. Again, we're out of time. And again, we got to go back to the network and say, can we make this into 2 parts? I think in this case, it was so big and we didn't want to ask for another 2-part show that we made the show and then we asked. So we sort of, I guess we thought it was better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. But they actually agreed in the end. And in fact, it gave them an extra show for the season. So it was kind of a win-win.
I like to change things up a little bit, and to me this was a great opportunity to give Damon a new challenge, and every once in a while I like doing that. I really do, give someone a challenge, see how they think. You see, my dad, that's how he taught me. He didn't tell me how to do something, he made me think about it. Why am I doing this? How should I do this, Mike? He made me think. So I said, Damon, you've worked with me long enough. I think you'll know how I would design this basement, so I gave him the challenge of designing the basement.
That was the first time Mike has, ever let somebody design a basement for him. He is always the guy. For him to give me that project was a huge pat on the back, and that's the way I took it right from the beginning. I was a little stunned, a little floored. I can remember the old knees knocking and everything, because it was a big undertaking, and that's intimidating for sure. And I remember he gave me about 45 minutes to come up with a plan, and I had to do it. Those guys were all eating lunch. I'm sitting there drawing up a plan really nervously. So, I got it done, and just being able to work with him on the plan, getting his ideas on why he wouldn't do a layout like that, what he would change, why, in terms of plumbing, electrical, all those issues was another teaching experience. That's a great moment of him teaching, and I'll take that with me forever. That was it taught me a lot in that 1 hour.
When Mike challenged Damon to build a basement, I saw a great opportunity to play a bit of a joke. So I got a piece of paper and drew a house and wrote My First Basement and stuck it on the wall.
He decided to do a little drawing for me called My First Basement. I think he was a little nervous that I was going to take it the wrong way. I was nervous to begin with.
And Damon was very embarrassed about it. Damon is an incredible professional who takes his craft very seriously. And then there I am, the personable side of Richard Wilmot, the joking side, making fun of his craft. Whereas I know if he made fun of my craft, I would have probably taken it. I wouldn't have taken it as well as he did. He was a great sport about it, and of course that got in the show.
You know what? After that job was done and everything, he gave that to me as a present, and you know what? I'm going to keep that forever. That was it was one of those times where you just look back on that and say, that bastard, and laugh about it. So
a lot of our titles for the shows that we do, if you've ever been on our website or looked on the back of a DVD cover, the titles are pretty cheesy. They're campy, they're groaners, and I guess I'm responsible for a lot of those. And Holmes Inspection, I was really grappling with trying to find a good title for that. And I was in our lunch truck one day on set, and I said to Mike, I can't come up with a name. I don't know what it is. I'm drawing a blank. I can't come up with anything. And he goes, why don't we just call it Holmes Inspection? Beautiful. It's simple. It's brilliant. There it is. So Mike actually named an episode, and I think he was really proud of that. And I was relieved that he came up with such a great name.
Helping people, that's what it's all about for me here. It's not only am I working with someone like Mike who is able to teach me a lot more than I ever knew before, but just giving back. It's something I've always believed in. I've always felt like giving back would someday be a part of my life, and it actually, Holmes & Holmes has given me that, and that is one of the most rewarding parts of my job, actually.
I like to see that, like, that we're helping people that actually need it, and we're not going out there and helping these people that have all this money and don't actually need the help. We're helping people that truly need it and truly will benefit from it.
At the end of the day, we all know what it's about. It's about giving something back to these people who've had probably the hardest times they've ever faced financially and mentally. And, I can't say enough about how rewarding that is. At the end of the day, you put all that other stuff aside and you give this back to them. And the look on their face says it all for me.
Before we know it, it's over. It's done. And we look forward to that end, honestly. We look forward to finishing that season. And to that wrap party. At the beginning, it's called a launch party. At the end, it's called a wrap party. At the end of season 5, sit down and talk about what we've learned, how we can make the next season better. No different than season 4, no different than season 3 and all the prior seasons before. We end up having what we call a launch party. That was a wrap and a launch party all in one to get right into season 6. It's a world that doesn't stop. It's a world that is exciting, nuts, emotional, but I love my job. We'll keep doing it.
The other thing,
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to these guys right here. You know that guy?
Hey, how you doing?
We know them, right?
Who are they?
Well, I thought they were with you.
I don't know who they are. I was just standing over there looking at you going, who the hell are you talking to?
Well, them then. Let's get
All right.
My relationship with Mike, met in season 2. He's a great guy, like long walks on the beach, and we go out on dates and stuff, and he's a really nice guy, and maybe we'll get a place together sometime.
Making sure that she could just move in and live. That makes sense? Are you back again?
Are you still talking?
Dude, this is unbelievable. I don't think we have time. After me, no one else can do an interview.
I think so. I don't think we have enough tape. There's like how many other
Did he
people
f*** up
here?
that take? Do I have to say that all again? Okay.
I tell you. Got a job to do.
Okay, man. We're coming.
All right.